Welcome back to our classroom instructions. If you have not been here before, as seen in previous videos, we're covering topics regarding curb stopping, three-point turning, parallel parking, how to use your mirrors and blind spots correctly. So at this time, we're going to be going over how to parallel park for this session of our classroom instructions. Before we begin, if you don't mind, please do give a thumbs up on our videos and also subscribe to the videos and let me know how I'm doing. Thank you. Now, without ado, let's continue with our instructions on how to parallel park. First, let's clean up our whiteboard. And I'm going to give you the same layout I gave you before regarding our streets. And let's give you some examples of how to parallel park. Now, parallel parking is a task that requires good observation, eyesight, patience, so I'm going to give you some scenarios here about the parallel park. Now we're approaching the parallel park from this direction. And as you approach, the DMV person says, let's parallel park next to the second car or the third car here. So once again, you're going to be signaling right and slowing down in advance. Slowing down means you're going somewhere about 2-3 miles per hour. And we're going to be stopping next to, example, say this car. Now, there is no absolute way to parallel park correctly. So it's not whether you can do it according to somebody else's way of doing it. What matters is, can you do it in a safe way and get into the spot without risking hitting anything behind you, a curb, a tree, a pole, or fire hydrant. And that's what matters the most. Safety and being able to do it. Now here we're stopped next to this car in the center here. We're signaling right. While you do this parallel park maneuver, keep in mind your foot must be on the brake pedal all the time. Unless you're parking on the hill, you do not need any kind of acceleration whatsoever. Also, as in the previous session, when you turn your steering wheel, and by the way, when you do the parallel park, there are 3 turns involved. First, right turn, left turn, and then right turn to move forward and finish. So when you turn the wheel to the right at the beginning, you turn your wheel to the right at the beginning of the parallel park, you can start fully mirror to mirror like this, or you can start halfway. For example, halfway means like this. So you're halfway up, as in this case, you're fully forward, so you're mirror to mirror. And in this case, you're basically halfway with the other vehicle. It doesn't matter how you start. Just be sure you start about 2 to 3 feet wide from the other vehicle, 2 to 3 feet wide. And if you're not sure what 2 to 3 feet wide looks like, it's about the length of your arm when you stick your arm out, so long as you're an average sized person. Otherwise, it's the length of the door. So when you open the door and get inside or outside of the vehicle, it's going to resemble the width of your car door, essentially. And that's how far you're stopping. If you stop too close, you could hit the mirrors together, which has been a problem sometimes in the past with my students, because they're approaching too quickly and too close. And when you're approaching too quickly, you cannot judge the distance very easily. So once again, go slowly and you can judge better 2 to 3 feet away from the other vehicle. Now, once you set up like this, we're going to begin the parallel park. Let's call this car 1 and car 2, and the one behind us, car 3. Now, before you begin to back up, there can be no cars approaching from behind and no cars approaching in this direction either. In other words, you must wait until they pass if they're approaching. If you back up while they're approaching and there's a collision, it will be your fault for having to back up, because once you back up and turn the wheel right, the car actually moves towards the left first, which means you're blocking the road just a bit. So let them go. Be patient. Now, once you back up, you're going to end up somewhere like this with your foot on the brake pedal. I'm going to back up until you get a 45-degree angle next to the edge of the road or the curb, which puts your front end essentially across from their back. In this case, and you look at yourself here, you can see the curb right here is a gap, and your bumper is behind there, across from their front back bumper, I should say, and your mirror is behind their back bumper as well. At this point, you can think about turning the wheel to the left, and that will be all the way to the left. Let's give you a couple of scenarios. If you begun like this, it'd end up the same way. Same angle before you turn the wheel to the left. So it doesn't matter if you begin mirror to mirror, halfway back. What matters is what happens here towards the end of the park on your second maneuver, which means you're going to turn left. Now at this point, you're going to turn the wheel all the way left. Look behind you over your right shoulder as you back up, in addition to looking in the right side mirror of the car as you back up. Now, while you back up, be sure to keep your foot on the brake pedal all the time. Do not release the brake pedal. We're going to back up until your car comes like this. In other words, straight in the space, at which point your third maneuver is to pull forward with the wheel straight. So when you back up, there is going to be a turn, in this case, first right, then you're going to turn the wheel left all the way. And when you back up, you're going to turn the wheel basically 1.5 turn right, and then roll forward. Just enough to get the car straightened out and the wheel straight. But do not go very close to the car in front of you, because you don't want to take the risk of hitting the car in front of you. And even if you're not going to take the risk, the person sitting with you, the driving instructor, the DMV examiner, they don't want you to go very close to the car ahead of you because of the chance that you might hit that vehicle. When you finish parallel parking, you must be a foot from the curb or less to qualify as good. Same as when you curb stop, I should say, you must be a foot from the curb or less to qualify as properly parked or curb stopped. If you're too far away, you can get a ticket. And if you are too far away, there's another risk you take. Let's give you an example of what I mean by that. So if you parallel park and you're too far away from the curb, in this case, we're too far away from the curb, as you can see, what can happen is you can lose your mirror. Somebody might pass by and you might hit mirrors to mirror and you'll lose your mirror. That's one of the consequences of being too far from the curb, but there's a legal situation here too. So please, if you're far, you're allowed to fix it. Now, how do you fix a parallel park in this situation? Let's give you an idea how to fix your parallel park. So let's assume that you just finished parallel parking. And after you finish parallel parking, you're far from the curb. So here's the car that you used to parallel park. And this is you. You're far from the curb. This you're allowed to fix. It's called excessive maneuvers, but that is fine. To fix this parallel park, just do the same thing you did to parallel park the first time you did it. You're going to turn the wheel. You're going to turn the wheel to the right. Back up, and the back of the car gets close to the curb. 45-degree angle relative to like this. Which point you turn the wheel to the left. It's hard to draw that, actually. And the car backs up, and you get close to the curb like this. Then you put the car in drive, and you pull forward behind the other vehicle, and that fixes your parallel park. Yes, you can also do this on the road test. Whatever I show you here, you can definitely do on a road test. So this is how you fix your parallel park when you have a situation of a single car. However, parallel park is meant to be used between cars. So let's give you an example of how that works. And by the way, regarding the 45-degree angle, let's cover that for a little bit before we do the double car parking. A 45-degree angle, first of all, this is a 90-degree angle here. A 45-degree angle, therefore, is half of that. So if I go like this, that's a 45-degree angle. If I go like that, that's a 45-degree angle. Looks like a triangle. In other words, here's your triangle. as you can see, triangle. But let's not focus too much on that. And let's show you how to park between two cars. Now, to park between two cars, you're going to do it the very same way you do with one vehicle. The problem with parking between two cars is the person gets stressed out that they're going to hit the car behind them. Please, you're going to do it the very same way you do a single car. If your technique takes you into two parking spaces, for example, let's say there's a parking space designated here at about, say, 22 feet per car. Now, if your parking space requires you to use two spaces, this one and this one, then that is not a good parking technique, because you must be able to fit between two cars. That's the whole purpose of parallel parking. So when you back up and finish your park, as up here, for example, in example number 1, this is example number 2. When you back up in parallel park, the reason why you worry about the car behind you typically is because your parking technique requires too much space. However, if you do it as I've demonstrated here for you to do it, then you should fit between one car perfectly fine using this example here or this example here. Now let's assume that you finish parallel parking between the cars and you're far from the curb. Now that becomes a bit of a problem to fix. On our next video, we're going to show you how to fix problems that happen in terms of hitting the curb, avoiding the curb, having difficulty parking. But in this case, it's about how to fix it. Since you're between the cars, you cannot fix it as we did in the demonstration I gave you before, as in turning right and then turning left and pull forward again, because there's a car behind you. So therefore, to fix this parking here, you have to pull out. So therefore, you're going to back up just a bit and you're going to pull out of the parking space. Excuse me while I erase that. You're going to back up and going to pull halfway out, not completely out, just halfway, which puts you like this. Now that might look familiar because that's how you started your parallel park when you had to turn left to get into the parking space, as in this example here. So you pull halfway out and make sure your bumper does not pass their back bumper, which case, if it does, when you turn left, you could hit the bumpers together, and we're trying to avoid that. Once again, you have your 45-degree angle. Bumper has not passed their rear bumper. Now put the car in reverse, turn all the way left first before you back up, because space is limited. So turn all the way left first before you back up, and then proceed to back up. Looking over your right shoulder, foot on the brake pedal, roll very, very slowly until you are in. I cannot demonstrate this on this whiteboard, but you should back up eventually until you're like that. And once again, you pull forward straight. Yes, you're allowed to fix your parallel park on your road test as such. However, the DMV does not normally give you parking between two cars. It's extremely rare you get this kind of situation to park between two cars. If, however, you do, perform the parallel park just the same way you would on a single car. Now, that should conclude our example of how to parallel park. I hope I have not missed anything. However, once again, please subscribe to the videos and give a thumbs up on the video. Let me know how I'm doing. Next session that we're going to have is how to fix your parallel park.